propaganda attempts to force a doctrine on the whole people. Propaganda works on the general public from the standpoint of an idea and makes them right for the victory of this idea. Does anyone have a guess about where this quote might have come from? Who said it? You can just throw it out. It's fine.
This is probably going to sound awful, but it's not Hitler, is it?
It is Hitler.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't have to overthink this one. This is from Mein Kampf, his manifesto, so that just goes to show how important propaganda is in the Holocaust and how big of a role it played, because Hitler actually had a director of propaganda. And as we know, propaganda is basically just fake news, and it's just the idea to, I don't know, ignite a reaction. So, go ahead. And so, Nazi propaganda in youth, it was really important for Germany to focus on the youth because they would be the next generation of leaders, so if they could indoctrinate them, that would really help the cause of Nazism. So by 1937, 97% of all the teachers in Germany belonged to the Nazi Socialist Teachers Union, and when they joined, they had to submit proof of ancestry, that they were, Aryan and everything. So they would have to fall into the Nazi ideal of a community of people, which were basically hardworking, clean living people who followed the law. That's what they wanted their teachers to be, so that they could indoctrinate the children. And so these are some of the children's books, and as you can see, there's Nazi flags, and we'll get to it in a minute, but there was, it went past the schools, and I'll talk about that. Okay, so this was a children's book called The Poisonous Mushroom, and this was published in Germany in 1938, and it leaves very little question regarding the intended Nazi solution to the Jewish problem. It describes a young boy and his mother walking through the forest doing one of the favorite pastimes of Germany, which is apparently picking wild mushrooms. And so as they're going through the forest, the mother is explaining the difference between a bad mushroom and a good mushroom. And consequently, she ends up talking about the difference between a good person and a bad person, aka an Aryan person and a Jewish person. So these are a couple of the pages from the book, and I just pulled some random ones because they're all really anti-Semitic and just terrible. So this one, this little boy is pointing to what looks like a 6, but that's not a 6. That's him pointing to a Jewish nose, and the writing underneath it translates to, "One can tell a Jew by his nose. The Jewish nose is bent at the tip. It looks like a figure 6, so we call them figure 6s. Many non-Jews also have bent noses, but in their case the nose is bent up, not down. They have nothing to do with the Jewish nose." So they made sure to make that distinction so that people could tell when someone was Jewish or not, apparently. And you can kind of see they put that stereotype in the cover of the book. And then this one, the writing, he's sitting on a bag of Geld, which translates to money in German. And underneath it says, "The Jew has only one idea in this world. It is money, 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 by every kind of trick and device to make himself immeasurably rich. What cares he for scorn and contempt? Money was and is his God. Through money he hopes to lord it over us and achieve the mastery of the world." So basically, they're just saying a lot of really bad things about Jewish people in this book, and they're selling it to children. So that goes along with the indoctrination of children. Also along with this, propaganda includes movies, books, TV shows, all that kind of stuff, which we hear a lot about today even. And so this is a movie. It translates to The Wandering Jew. It was made in 1940 as an anti-Semitic Nazi propaganda film. And it was made in the style of a documentary, so now we kind of know it as a mockumentary. You know how sometimes they'll make documentaries about mermaids or Bigfoot and things like that, and they're not really true, but to the untrained eye, it almost seems like someone might think that they were true. And so that was kind of the goal with this. And so the central thesis of this movie is that Jews are wandering cultural parasites, is what it says. And so throughout the film, there's basically just an enhanced version of the stereotypes of Jewish people. So they have Aryan men finding satisfaction in physical labor and the creation of value, while Jews only find pleasure in money and a hedonistic lifestyle. And while members of the Aryan race have a need for aesthetic, nice, clean living, they didn't care about that, and they would live in bug-infested, filthy homes, even though they could afford to live in a nicer home. So later on down the line, there was this man named Stanley Milgram. He was born in 1933 and he died in 1984. He was an American psychologist who wanted to understand basically why the Nazis would do what they did and what drove them to that. So he created this thing called the Milgram experiment. Basically what he did was he pulled in average citizens and they drew a card, and their card would tell them that they would be the person to administer an electric shock to someone in another room if they got an answer wrong, as a memory experiment. But it really wasn't a memory experiment, it was a social experiment to see how much electricity someone would administer to another person. So they had, this man, he's sitting in the chair and administering the shock, and they can hear the person in the other room getting the shock, even though they're not really getting it. They just wanted to see who would administer a lethal dose and how many people. And can you guess how many people would administer a lethal dose? Because I think you'll be surprised, so just throw out a guess. I've heard everything. So.
I would think a lot, but I don't know.
Just throw out a percentage of what you might think.
Okay. Oh, 70.
Yeah, I was gonna say
70%. Okay, you're really close because it was actually 67%, which is 2/3 of the people.
That's crazy.
They were willing to administer a lethal shock to another person because a man in a white coat told them to. So basically, I'm just going to go ahead and start this video.